Today's Cowboys Report is made possible by 8 Sleep, the high-tech solution to your age-old sleeping issues. We will tell you all about them later on in today's show, but you can get $200 off plus free shipping by going to 8sleep.com/chatsports. Now, we are just 224 subscribers away from 184K. The march to 200K is very much ongoing here. If you want Cowboys videos multiple times per day, hit that sub button right now. We begin with a topic that I think many of you will at least enjoy. That is the idea of signing one Derrick Henry. Sports Illustrated has discussed this idea of adding him, which more than it did the trade deadline, it does make more sense now with the way you're set up on offense, the way your salary cap can be set up. We'll get to that more in depth here in a little bit on today's show. But there is more feasibility, from this perspective. Now, to be fair and be clear, Henry is up there in age. He is 30 years old with a lot of mileage. He's also been really the only running back in the last couple of years that has made that contract he signed worthwhile. Everyone else has been traded, cut, or took a pay cut. Derrick Henry didn't have to because he still played pretty well. Now, he's not the same King Henry he was back in 2020 when he was a 2,000-yard back on a massive workload, averaging 5 and almost a half yards per carry. His numbers have dipped, but he's going to get you touchdowns. He can still be a 4-point-something running back on a high volume, which is valuable. And with the way the market shapes up, might not be as expensive as you would think. The Cowboys could very well entertain significant change in their running back room. Tony Pollard is a free agent. Rico Dowdle's a free agent. And then it's cheap guys that you could cut or practice squad, frankly, pretty easily. Deuce Vaughn, Malik Davis, Snoop Connor, Hunter Lipke as well. I do want to make note, Derrick Henry was not actually available at the trade deadline. There was very logical speculation about that being the case. Wasn't available. And he makes more sense in Dallas now than he ever did, although there is an alternate universe in which Dallas goes Jalen Ramsey, Derrick Henry in that draft, and oh boy, wouldn't that have been a different outcome. This also, to me, kind of feels on brand for Dallas, right? It's we want to win a Super Bowl. We're actually going to make a splash, and it's a running back, which, as we'll get into, isn't alone going to fix this team's ground game issues. But I'm not saying I'm out on Derrick Henry or any of the free agent backs. What do you guys think? Do you want to sign Derrick Henry? It's the pinned comment on today's video. Y for yes, N for no. If that ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. I do think Henry is showing some signs of age and the workload that is significantly higher than most backs his age, and he is in many ways the exception that proves the rule of all these high-paid backs. Most of them break down. Derrick Henry really hasn't. He's at least still been solid to outright good, even though he's not the same prime King Henry he was back in 2020. So you do want to keep that in mind contract-wise. That also might make everything work in your favor if that's the route you want to go. I am down to sign a running back in free agency because the market should lean towards NFL teams, including but not limited to the Dallas Cowboys. With the way this is all setting up, the supply-demand issues for the players work out super well for the teams. Here is a list of free agent running backs who were starters or hybrid starters for their team this year. Derrick Henry, DeAndre Swift. This is all ordered, by the way, in terms of total yardage. Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Devin Singletary, the Gus Bus, Josh Jacobs, James Conner, I think, is actually a really good fit for this team with what they want to do on that side of the ball. Austin Ekeler, Zack Moss. There are not going to be 10 NFL teams that break the bank to pay their backs. There's too many solid ones out there that would allow teams to invest in their offensive line and get better results overall on the ground game. So as long as you're not recklessly overpaying, let's not give $10 million to a back per year, yeah. And I think you can, frankly, easily find that. And as long as you fix your offensive line run blocking issues and your scheme problems, and even hell, if you just do those two, your running game is going to improve overnight. All of a sudden, Don't we feel at least more hopeful about this ground game? I certainly do. Now, today's show is made possible by 8 Sleep, the high-tech solution to all your age-old sleeping issues. Did you know that sleep science shows in order to sleep our best, our body temperature needs to drop in the early and middle part of sleep and then rise in the morning? The 8 Sleep Pod cover will improve your sleep by automatically adjusting your bed's temperature based on your individual needs. The cover is added to any bed, just like a fitted sheet is, and allows you and your partner to cool or warm your side of the bed as low as 55 degrees and up to 110 degrees. There's no better way to improve your day-to-day life than better sleep. The easiest way to that is with the 8 Sleep Pod 3. So start the new year right and invest in the rest you deserve with the 8 Sleep Pod. So go to 8sleep.com/chatsports and get $200 off plus free shipping on the pod cover by 8 Sleep. Again, folks, start that new year right and invest in the rest you deserve with the 8 Sleep Pod. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. Now, we mentioned contract stuff, right? Good reporting from ESPN saying the Cowboys plan to restructure players, including but not limited to Zack Martin, Trayvon Diggs. The Cowboys, depending on which site you look at, are either around $11 million or maybe $19 million over the salary cap. There's differences of how much rollover is going to happen and just the total carryover, et cetera. So there's some disagreements there. I think it's going to be a little bit closer to the $11 million figure, or to the $19 million figure. But for now, we'll just split the gap because the $5 million, as you'll see, doesn't really matter. It would actually be very simple for the Dallas Cowboys to get the cap space they need to spend money in free agency. Here are the simple restructures built into the contract, easy automatic switches this team can do. Zack Martin restructure, saves $12.5 million on this year's salary cap. Trayvon Diggs saves $7.9 million. Brandon Cooks saves $4.52. Terrence Steele saves $4.9 million. Donovan Wilson saves $2.91. So just like that, if you wanted to, you would generate nearly $33 million in salary cap space in a pretty quick amount of time. So now you are already under the salary cap, and you are salary cap compliant, and you can do whatever you have to do to get to free agency there. You can also cut Michael Gallup. Now, that would be most likely a post-June 1st designation. That would free up $9.5 million in salary cap space after June 1st. So that's a way in which you are able to pay your draft class and spend that other $32 million, or I guess in this case, let's say 20-ish, 15-ish, on current free agents or other teams' free agents. You can also simply pay CeeDee Lamb pretty much whatever you want to and free up almost $13.5 million in salary cap space. Because smart teams, and Dallas does this too, puts money off in the future. If you always put money off in the future, you have more available for you now. At that point, we are up to 46.31, give or take a couple million if you don't want to be overly aggressive or you want to dial back a little bit, that's fine, and $9.5 million after June 1st. And then you can do something with the Dak Prescott contract, which at minimum should free up $25 million in extra salary cap space. It can be higher, but 25 is the safer benchmark, right? So I've simply created $70 million fairly easily. Now we'll round and say you've got about $50 million to spend because you're paying that extra over the cap number already, right? And you've got $9.5 million for other draft picks, extra rollover, later spending, if someone gets hurt in September or August. You are not in cap hell. Do not let anybody tell you that is the case. Do not let the Cowboys say, oh, we got to manage the pie. I have created more pie. I have baked a second pie. I can do that every year. You have money to spend in free agency if you want to. It is a choice by this organization to not spend at all in recent years. Don't let them lie to you. Don't let them say, "Oh, it's salary cap hell." If you want to win now and be aggressive in this little window, how long it is, you can do it. It's actually very simple and doable for this organization. It's a matter of want to for the Cowboys. So will they? Will they spend in free agency this year? A for yes, B for no. Go vote in the comments. Also want to check in with the latest on Dan Quinn right now, as he has his second interview today with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, he has another interview with the Commanders set for early next week, and I've heard conflicting info if that was second interview or even third interview for Dan Quinn, knowing they're also waiting for guys like Ben Johnson, more than a little bit. The expectation is, if he does not get one of those two jobs, he's back as the Cowboys defensive coordinator. Now, the Commanders head coach tracker right now looks like this, and a lot of buzz on Ben Johnson for them. He can't be hired until after this upcoming weekend, so that's kind of wait-and-see mode there. I think he's your favorite for Washington. They've interviewed Bobby Slowick, Aaron Glenn, Raheem Morris, several of these getting or plan to get second interviews, by the way. Dan Quinn, Mike McDonald, Anthony Weaver. They also interviewed Eric Bieniemy. He's out of it. The other 7 guys are getting second or have already gotten second interviews for that job. Seattle, meanwhile, these 5 coaches are on their are the known second head coach interview list. Ejiro Evero, Patrick Graham, Mike Kafka, Raheem Morris, also Dan Quinn. They did interview, by the way, Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick, and Frank Smith, who are the offensive minds. No reporting at this time on those 2 being potential candidates for the Seahawks' second interview stage, which makes me think Dan Quinn's got a real chance at that Seahawks job. If not, I think he's back in Dallas. Briefly before we go, the Dallas Cowboys have 5 NFL AP award finalists here. Dak Prescott, MVP finalist, probably going to be second or third. Offensive Player of the Year, CeeDee Lamb is a finalist. That's not a huge surprise. Same with Dak Prescott. Actually, was a bit surprised by that one. Thought they might go less on the quarterback side there. Micah Parsons and Deron Bland are Defensive Player of the Year finalists. No surprises on those 5 outside of maybe Dak for Offensive Player of the Year, and I thought they might go less QB heavy, but they're all probably not going to win, which I think is also fair.